Hi. In the recent past, I happened to meet one of my good friend. She's usually a very bubbly and lively person to be around with, but on the contrary, I saw her very dull and very moody. And as we started to talk, at one point of time, she started blaming herself. She said, "Raji, I hate myself. I'm the most horrible person to be with. I'm a pain to all the people around." She started calling herself as beastie and very horrible, and it went on. So I had to stop and I asked her what made her feel so. And then she told me that she spoke very rudely, or rather, she snapped at her husband who lives in the US, who's so far away. And she said, "I just cannot forgive myself for the way I spoke to him and hurt him. I hate myself." And she went on again to blame herself. And I had to ask her if she apologized for whatever she spoke to her husband. She said, "Yes, I said, I asked him apology and he accepted it. But Raji, I cannot just forgive myself. I was so rude. I should not have spoken that." And again, she went on blaming herself. Friends, all the while that she was talking to me and blaming herself, I could understand that she was undergoing a very strong negative emotion, guilt. Guilt is something which really burdens one so heavily, and it literally pushes you down if you do not handle it well. It is a very strong emotion which acts on self, which turns towards you and criticizes you, judges you, and literally blames you. Guilt is something which is born when you do not agree, when you do not justify your behavior in the past. May I ask you a few questions to activate your thinking so that you are able to journey with me? Are you also someone who's feeling very guilty for having hurt your loved one with very rude words? Are you ruminating over not being present with a friend or a family when they needed you most? Are you feeling you are a terrible person because you broke a promise? Or are you struggling with your own emotions and feeling more and more guilty because you let go your core values just because a situation demanded you? I'm sure at some point of time, all of us undergo such kind of confusions and turmoils in our head. Just imagine living with a person full time who is always blaming you, criticizing you, and accusing you, and you just can't escape that person because most often it is you accusing and blaming yourself. More than the guilt, more than the mistake that we committed, it's quite often the repeated thoughts that causes more damage. Please, I think it's time we work on our guilt and we be a little more gentle to ourselves too. I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say none of us can go back and change what has happened in the past. But if you are one like my friend who's feeling guilty about what you have committed and you're struggling with your emotions, like self accusing and self blaming yourself, I'm sure the following recipe will help you to a large extent. May I? The first way, go back and look at the situation. Maybe you were very preoccupied with some anxiety and tension yourself, which made you react so rudely to a loved one. Of course, it doesn't justify what you did, but you can sympathize with yourself. Second, just because what you did is terrible, that does not mean that you are a terrible person. The very fact that you are guilty about it reveals that you are feeling sorry for your mistake. So be gentle with yourself. And you have broken your own core values. That is the reason you are guilty. Maybe basically you are a loving person. You are feeling bad that you hurt a loved one, which makes and shows that you are basically a very loving and kind person. So definitely you could sympathize with you and think on that terms, not to hurt in future. Fourth, many a time, just a heartfelt apology is sufficient enough to heal the person whom you hurt. But in case the person needs a longer time to heal and is not accepting the apology, you don't have to feel guilty about it. Write down whatever you're sorry about in a letter or record it as a voice message, and you could post it if it is appropriate. Otherwise, just seal it with a word of prayer, and I'm sure the thought of that goodness in you would reach it and heal the person on the other side. And the last, in case if the damage is irreparable, please do not suffer with the guilt. Hold on to your faith if you're strong in it, or divert this negative energy into rendering some good service. Help somebody who's in need. In the process, the negative energy, the negative emotion that you are struggling with, and the hurt of the other person will surely be replaced with the goodness, the act of goodness. Friends, I would be really happy and contented if this could help. If these points that we have discussed today could help you at some point of time in minimizing the guilt and helping you live a little better. Committing mistakes is our nature. Acceptance is our good nature. And not committing it again is, I see, as a progress. Please work on your guilt. Convert your guilt into self-realization and self-acceptance. Please be good to you. Quite often, turn back, look at yourself and say, you are really a nice person. Stay happy.